Well, here it is. It's called the Libreta. It's Cuba's food rationing book. I've long tried to get one of these in order to better understand economics under a communist system. This booklet actually tells you a whole lot more about life under Cuba's system to this very day. Some of it is shocking. Should we take a look together? Okay, a little bit of background. Throughout Cuba's history, they had a growing agricultural sector, and that sector in turn was supported by an ever-evolving supply chain. Pretty much a system of getting food from the farm to the market evolved like any other country in the world. But in 1959, Fidel Castro took power and introduced communism. Through this system of communism, he saw the agricultural system take on new reforms. Basically, the farms were taken away from those individual holders and handed over to a form of collective farming. As for that supply chain, that was taken over by the government and totally revamped to meet a communist philosophical ideal of equality in distribution. The result? Well, the system collapsed. There were a series of reforms, but it collapsed again and again. It appeared that the more that Fidel pushed to make his communist ideals work, the more that scarcity in the food sector became a norm in Cuba. And in 1962, he introduced food rationing, and the Libreta was born. Although it itself evolved into something a little bit more sinister. Now, I must actually stress that in showing you this book, I've actually got to hide the name of the owner of this book. This is actually so controversial that if I had to show you the owner's name, they could land up in a lot of trouble, if not in jail. That's how serious this book really is. I'm going to start off with showing you some of the parts of this book which is really about the food rationing, and then I'm going to start showing you the more sinister sides of this book. I'm going to open up this booklet, and I'm going to show you a specific sort of typical page of what it looks like. I'm going to see if this can actually focus in. Do we focus? There we go. So you can see there's a series of numbers with a series of descriptions. If you look over here, you can see the descriptions and the numbers to go with it. I'm actually going to read these numbers out to you and these descriptions. There's arroz, which is rice, granos, which is grains, aceite, which is oil, cooking oil, manteca, which is butter, sucre, zucker, which is rice, zucker is sugar, consumo tomate, which is tomato paste, jabón de baño y jabón de lavar, which is kind of interesting because one is the soap of the bathroom and the other one is a soap of washing. Go figure. Detergents, there are a few detergents. Coffee for café. Cigarro fuerte, cigarro suave, which is obviously a strong cigarette, weak cigarette. Tobacco for those with the pipes. Fósforos, which is matches. Toothpaste, pasta dental, and then there's another 5 options available. So for every month they receive a certain quota. The book is basically broken up into this, the basics. There's a section here with proteins. I have to be very careful how to open this, not to show names. And they've got a section with breads and then a section with milks. Now I'm going to just explain to you some of the intriguing parts. Just looking at this, I made a bit of a summary, and that way you get an idea of what life is like. Alright, so what is interesting that I find here, for example, the 2.8 for arroz, for example, 28, which means 2.8 kilograms of rice. So the various amounts here, aceite is 2, I think that might be 2 ounces or 200 mils of oil. Sucre is 12B, which I think the B would be for blanco, which would mean white sugar. So this would probably be 1.2 kilograms of white sugar. That's just trying to decipher some of the nomenclature or the numbering systems they have. But what I did pick out was that in the months of January, February, and March, they did not receive any soap. And in April, they received 4 bars of soap. So you suddenly start seeing jabón de lavar. And then May, so in April, they received 4 bars of soap. And in May, I see for the first time, they get a tube of toothpaste. It looked like they had no toothpaste for the first couple of months. June, they get now 4 bars of soap again. So it looks like there were 4 bars every 2 months for a certain while. And in the month of June, they get another a tube of toothpaste. So it looks like the toothpaste supplies have finally arrived. July, no soap, no toothpaste. August, 4 bars of soap again, a tube of toothpaste, and they get for the first time detergent. So in August, here we go, detergent, here we go, number 1 over here is shown. So up until August, they had no detergent to wash their own clothes unless they bought some, I guess. In September, we actually get to see that they get some extra toothpaste. So now it's rolling on month after month. Looks like the shipment of toothpaste is really starting to arrive. October, again, toothpaste. In October, we get to see that they get matches for the first time. Another interesting thing is that the quota of sugar throughout the year has been 1.2 kilograms of sugar for this family of 4. But in October, it now comes up to 1.6 kilograms for the family of 4, but in October, no soap. In November, they get toothpaste, they get matches, they get soap, but get this, in September, November, they actually get an extra soap. So they play a bit of a game here, where they have 4 bars of soap for the baño, and they get another 4 bars of soap for lavar, which means like it looks like that somebody's trying to make up for the past, so to speak, and found a nice little loophole of how to hide the extra amount of soap. And then in December, they get 2 kilograms of sugar, 4 bars of soap, and another detergent. So it looks like the detergent supplies start to arrive. Now, that's it for the first section on the basics. Now the next section is on the protein side. This is it here. Let's see if we can show it. So let's see if I can show you. So this whole part over here, this is the carnes, which is the beefs or steaks, the meats. And if you look, they've got a series of numbers. Looks like the family would get beef for once a week. They would get X amount of them once a week. It shows up to 52 weeks in the year, and it shows how they're busy getting X amount of it during the course of the year. But what is notable over here is that there's a series of dates that are empty. And you can quite see, in fact, from week 33 onwards, for the rest of the year, this family didn't get any meats or steaks. They may have made up for it on the other side of this, which has pescado y huevos, which is fish and eggs. So we're seeing there's a series here of number 4s, which is 1 fish per family member, I'd imagine. Once in the month of January, they got 4 items in the first week of January, 4 items of fish, and in the first week of January they got 4 eggs. February the same thing all over again, 4 and 4, and so it goes. So these for the proteins, this is meant to make up for the fact that there's a certain amount of meat and steaks that went missing, that weren't able to be supplied. Now from the proteins, I'm going to go into the section of bread, and this one is a bit heart-wrenching if you know what you're reading over here. there's a whole series of 4s. Let's see, is it in focus? It's in focus, right? So you can see for every day of the year, in fact. This shows you it is number 4. And what this is actually showing is that a member of the family, every morning, a member of the family has to go out to the depot, line up, and wait to be given 4 rolls. And on some days they lined up, but there were no rolls to be given. So you start seeing there's a lot of gaps over here. And over here you see a lot of filled in spaces. So towards the end of the year it looks like the dough had arrived, so to speak, and everything starts to fill up. But at the beginning of the year it was quite scant. Then we move over to the milks. Every 2 weeks they're getting a certain amount of milk. I can't actually work out the amount. It looks like could be about a liter, 1.2 liters of milk every 2 weeks for this family of 4. That's what I'm working out. So there you have the milks. Now there you have it as far as food goes, as far as a rationing system goes. Now comes the more disturbing part behind this booklet. You see, for this booklet to be filled in, there is a double accounting system where they fill into the booklet how much you received, but they also have a form of a journal at the depot, and that same amount is actually filled into the journal. And within inside the journal, they will actually have the name of the family. So basically, you arrive with your booklet, they look you up, find you, yes. They write in the amount into your booklet, and then they write it back into the journal. Now, I should say that right now in the year 2020, Cuba has actually developed quite well as far as, say, IT systems and computer systems go. So when it comes to tracking any form of political dissident or even criminals, that's all very computerized. But when it comes to tracking food and where people are and where they're located and all that, that's all done manually. And it's done manually on purpose. You see, you are listed on the roster of the depot to the area that you live in and nowhere else. In essence, if you want to move to another part of Cuba, put quite simply, you can't. If the government, which is the only employer in Cuba, if the government finds that they want to appoint you to work in another town or city or so, and they want you to move and that you're happy, and hopefully you'll be happy with it, they can actually organize to have you moved onto the roster of the other depot and make sure there's an allotment put out for you, etc., and they can make this work. But you as an individual, you can try and apply for it, and maybe if you're lucky you could get that deferment over to somewhere else. But other than that, they are in essence using this booklet to ensure that there is no freedom of movement inside Cuba. And outside of issues such as political dissidents and trying to stop political dissidents from moving from one area to another and trying to control people a bit better, there is a slightly more human aspect that is very unfortunately distorted. You see, this is for a family of 4 people, and sometimes it's unfortunate, but people divorce. And when you do have a divorce scenario, the ability to move out of home and move somewhere else is severely hampered. It is as though the government is actually putting on a strain in your own personal lives, and how, well, I'm going to end it there. I would like to say I hope you enjoyed this, but I certainly haven't enjoyed reading this. I would like you to just think about the fact that this is being implemented today, right now, in the 21st century in Cuba, and people have to live with this. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. I hope you learned something today. Again, thank you.